Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to our /entitled where some people literally think the world revolves around them and who cares about anyone else. And in today's episode, it's all about Karens causing trouble in gyms and recreation centers, guys. And one OP tells a story about a family who abandons their son in a pool. And of course, they learn a lesson they won't forget. Guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. And try not to shake your heads too hard at some of these posts. This happened a day ago, and I'm still super mad. After a long break from working out, I've decided to get back into it slowly and steadily by joining a yoga class at my gym. They have multiple classes per week in different locations and times, but unfortunately, the time and place that suits me the best is very popular, and you have to make a reservation at least more than a week in advance. I usually show up 15 minutes early and have no problems. But due to traffic caused by a road accident, I was running a bit late this time. The gym is on the 7th floor of the building, and I got to the elevator in the underground parking 10 minutes before the class, so still plenty of time to change and get ready if I'm fast. I get on the elevator, and there is this lady that I've seen in the yoga class before. She starts acting super weird. The woman starts accidentally pressing all the wrong buttons, and every single stop, she stands in the doors, accidentally blocking them, all the while glancing at her watch. As soon as it hits 5 minutes before the start of the class, she suddenly remembers how elevators work, and we quickly get to the 7th floor where my gym is. Instantly, she starts sprinting to the front desk. She throws her membership card at the worker and she asked if there's any no-shows for yoga. You see, in this gym, if you're not checked in 5 minutes before the start of class, you're declared a no-show, and your spot is now open for the taking on first-come, first-served basis. On the self-check-in machine, it says I'm a no-show, and the front desk says, sorry, she just took the last spot. And seriously, pissed was an understatement. I drove 40 minutes to get to yoga, and now I have to drive back 30 minutes, and all for nothing. The next yoga class I can make is in a week, and I'm super disappointed. On top of that, I'm also getting slapped with a no-show fee, so thanks, Karen. Listen guys, if there was any good reason to ever throw a shoe at a Karen, like this has gotta be one of them. Like, what an a-hole move that was, right? And who else has a feeling that she's definitely done this before because her behavior was really calculated? My question is why? Like, if you want that class at that time, why not make a reservation, Karen? And if you guys thought what that Karen did was annoying, listen to what this person has to say. So this happened yesterday afternoon at my gym. A woman was making her way to different pieces of equipment in the gym, only she didn't sit or use any. Instead, she used her lipstick to make X's on the equipment. And not just small X's either, it was big ones, I'm guessing, so it could be seen. This is when I walk over and I ask what she's doing. After she put an X on the 7th piece of equipment, she says she's labeling which equipment she'll be using when she comes out of the locker room. She then disappears into the locker room. When she returns, she finds everything she'd labeled had been occupied, and she walks over to me as I'm training someone and she asked what's going on. She reserved her spots. I just told her there's no reserving equipment, and people had to clean up her giant X marks before using the equipment. I told her if I caught her trying to use any kind of makeup again on the equipment to anyway claim it as hers, that I'll get my boss to talk to her about how it's unsanitary to use any kind of makeup on equipment to reserve a spot. She just got all pissy with me and she told me I ruined her workout, as she now had to wait to use the machines. And here's an update. I saw the woman today and she did the exact same thing, so I got my boss and I let her know the lipstick bandit was back. My boss approached her and the two went towards my boss's office. No more than 7 minutes passed before the woman was heard shrieking, "This isn't fair. You can't ban me just because I mark what equipment I'm going to use." She then storms towards the locker rooms looking like she was ready to scream, gym bag in hand. and then she just left. So here's some backstory. This took place about 2 months ago. I just started a job working the front desk at a gym near my house. And when I say just started, I mean this happened on my second day on the job. And this was about an hour into my shift. Considering it's my second day on the job, I was working the front desk with one of my coworkers so she could show me how to run the desk properly, as we usually only have one person at the front desk. Enter Karen and her teenage son. The woman comes up to me and she says, "Hello." I respond, "Good morning, how can I help you?" She then goes on to say, "Well, you can help me by getting me a cheaper membership." I reply, "Oh, so you're interested in downgrading to a cheaper membership option? Well, I can get a fitness advisor out here to walk you through some of the options." Karen then responds, No, I like my current membership, I just want to pay less for it." Now, this stopped me dead in my tracks because I had no idea how to respond to that. I knew that our membership rates weren't really changeable unless you took advantage of some sort of promotion, and we didn't have any going on at the moment. That's when my coworker steps in to help me. My coworker says to Karen, "I'm sorry, miss, but we can't change the price of an established membership. I can see how much you're paying now, and we can go from there." She then proceeds to open this woman's account in our system to see what type of membership she has. And when she did, we were both floored at what we saw. This woman had the most amazing membership rate I've ever seen to this day. She had somehow managed to get our best membership for less than half of the bi-weekly rate, nearly a 60% discount, which is significantly less than even our cheapest membership option. She'd had this membership for about 5 years, so she must have gotten some ungodly deal back in the day. My coworker says to Karen, "Ma'am, you have a pretty incredible rate. I'd recommend keeping this membership because this is probably as good as it gets." The Karen, looking my coworker dead in the face, then says, "No, I don't accept that. That is unacceptable. I don't want to pay this much." At this point, our manager happens to be walking by and catches snippets of the conversation. The manager chimes in and says, "What's going on here?" I let my manager know this woman wants to pay less for her membership. Manager tells me, "Okay, I'll handle this. Just help people scan in." Now, our card scanner is right beside where my manager and the woman were talking, so I could still hear the conversation. My manager basically starts running through the same stuff that I was, giving rates of cheaper membership options, until the woman interrupted her to say that she just wanted to pay less for her current membership. The manager takes a look at her membership details and says, "I'm sorry, but this price is the best you're gonna get." That's when Karen says, "Look at me. I've been a loyal member for 5 years. I deserve a better rate, don't you think?" At this point, her son's looking very embarrassed, and he says, "Mom, can we just go work out, please?" She then says, "Not until I get a cheaper membership." The manager just goes on and says, "Ma'am, this is the best rate I've ever seen. I don't even know how you have this. If I touch any aspect of this, the end result will be you paying more money. I'd recommend you keeping this for now and returning when we have any promotions that may offer better deals." Finally, the woman conceded, and she just went to the gym with her son, and I thought that was the end of it. But I was wrong. About an hour later, she was walking out of the gym with her son when she stops at the front desk again. She says to me, "Excuse me, what was the name of that woman I spoke to before?" I respond, "Oh, the manager, that's Carol." She then goes on to say, "I'd like to submit a formal complaint about her. She's a bitch." I respond, "I beg your pardon?" Karen says, "I felt that she was very rude to me for not giving me a discount, and I felt she was also rude to you, don't you think?" I respond, "I'm not sure what you mean. When was she rude to me?" "When you were talking to me. She dismissed you so she could talk to me instead. It was very condescending. If I were in your shoes, I'd be really pissed. That's also something you should complain about." Now, it's clear that she's trying to get me to side with her to somehow reprimand my manager. I just tell her, oh, I can assure you that wasn't a problem. I'm new here and I really appreciate her stepping in to help. Karen says, no, she was rude. She's a bitch. I tell her, miss, I can assure you I never got the impression that she was being rude to me. Karen says to me, I'm telling you, she was rude to you and to me. I want to submit a formal complaint. Now tell me, how do I submit a complaint? My coworker helps her write a complaint and she leaves. Later, the manager comes out and asked me if I thought she had been rude to me, to which I assured her I never got that impression at all, and I appreciate her stepping in. It's also worth noting that I went back to the woman's account later, and I saw that she's barely at the gym. She averages a couple of times a month at most. From my experience, the people that actually come to the gym frequently are never the ones that complain about prices. I also haven't seen her in here since. Yeah, some people just can't take no for an answer, can they? And guys, it made me so mad when she tried to get the manager reprimanded and tried to get OP to side with her when she didn't get the discount. Like, holy moly, Karen, get a life. I only wish workers were allowed to tell Karens what needs to be said. I'd like a cheaper membership. Well then, ma'am, I'd suggest you find a cheaper gym then. Since the start of the new year, I've been taking my health seriously. I've been going to the gym I used to frequent, and I'm going a few times a week. Also, a few years ago, I coached youth sports, and to be clear, not at this gym. I coached it elsewhere, outdoors on a field. Not even close to being a gym-like setting. That said, I was in the gym, headphones on, and really in my zone going after it on a rowing machine. I thought I'd seen a mother with a child pointing in my direction, but I just shut it out because there was no way they're pointing at me, right? It must be a coincidence. Now, those who have seen this machine know there's a ton of pinch points. You don't want to get your hands anywhere near it while it's moving, let alone while someone else is slamming back and forth on it absent-mindedly. So you can imagine my absolute shock and panic when this little kid, who's maybe 4 years old, was buzzing around behind me and saying my name. I thought I'd heard my name through my headphones, but I was so sure I must be imagining it. I was too focused on my workout to really care. But no, I opened my eyes, and there's who, after a second, I recognize from one of the teams I used to coach. The kid's telling me how they want to bounce a yoga ball around, and I'm like, that's awesome, that sounds like a fun thing for you and your mom to do. Well, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I wonder why your mom brought you here and where she went. Thank God I didn't accidentally break all your fingers. So I'm looking for her, barely even remembering what she looks like, as I never knew this family all that well. Then I spot what must be her, because there's a woman with this distinct Karen haircut shuffling away. She's glancing back every few seconds to be sure the kid's still with me. She then panics, averting her gaze and trying to disappear into another room when we made eye contact. Now, I wasn't having the greatest of days this day, so the usual courteousness went right out the window. I ran over and I flagged her down with her kid in tow, and rather than needlessly argue with her, I just give her the benefit of the doubt. And I said, your son's gotten lost. Here he is. Thank you. Bye. And then turned to go. But instead of just accepting that the stunt didn't work and accepting my very generous offer of allowing her to save face, the woman tried to play dumb and she says, "Oh, I know you. You used to be one of his coaches, and that's too perfect because, I'm about to go do some yoga and maybe you could." Now, I saw where she was going with this, so I decided it was time to be direct. I tell her, yeah, so this gym really isn't affiliated with the team, like at all. I'm here to work out, not be a babysitter. She then tries to pull at my heartstrings with, I guess I could just let him hang out by himself, but he likes you so much. I remember you being such a fun coach. Setting her manipulation tactics aside, I just went with, well, that's your call as a parent. But this really isn't a safe place to leave a kid unsupervised. I said that, hoping it would make it clear that if she did leave him to wander, I wasn't going to assume charge for him out of any sense of obligation. Instead, credit to Karen, she managed to turn it around on me. She says, "Oh great, so you'll watch him then. So my class is only 45 minutes. Thank you so much." I respond, "No, I won't do that. I'm here to work out." Or at least that's what I tried to say, but I got maybe a third of the way through before Karen just walked away. I also don't have time for any of that BS, so I took the kid to the front desk and I reported him as a lost child. The staff are very professional, so they just smiled and they took the kid by the hand. They gave him a place to wait and they didn't say anything beyond, "Oh, thank you so much for letting us know. We'll take care of it." However, as I was turning to go back, I heard the front desk person call into the back about Karen, so I just stopped and I made it look like I was leafing through some pamphlets to overhear them. I overhear the front desk worker say, "Jenna, you're never gonna believe this. So, remember that lady who was trying to leave her kid up here a minute ago? Yeah, the one bitching how we should have a daycare service? Exactly, the same one. Well, she just left her kid in the gym. I don't know where, but some girl brought him back up here because apparently he was wandering around looking for his mom. Can you believe some people? The kid's like 4 years old. Oh God. And no, I don't want to go find her. You find her. I dealt with her the first time." Hearing that, I couldn't believe it. How anyone would feel entitled to free childcare from people is beyond me. But more than that, who entrusts their kid to strangers? Like, why is her workout so much more important than my workouts or those ladies' jobs? When I walk by the front desk nearly an hour later, I see Karen was arguing with those poor girls. She spots me and she shouts, "She was supposed to watch my child. I didn't abandon him in some corner." Karen then calls out to me saying, "Hey, you, why didn't you watch my son like I asked?" I had my AirPods in, so I just kept on walking, pretending I didn't hear what she said. I asked about her the next time I came around, and apparently, shortly after, the gym owner appeared. She drove in especially to deal with Karen. There is now a big sign at the front in bold red letters that says, "No children under 12 on the main floor." And this is why we can't have nice things. Again, some people just can't take no for an answer, can they? If you don't watch my kid, I'll just find someone else. Like I've said this countless times, guys, I just never understand how some people are okay with leaving their toddlers with complete strangers. And this person says it the best, guys. They say, "I usually call the cops and CPS when parents leave their kids and assume the place I work at is a free babysitting service." And this person comments and they share a short story and they say, "So this happened last week. I generally work out at the gym around 5 p.m. But due to various reasons, it got pushed to 7:30 p.m. that day. The gym's in my apartment complex, so nothing fancy but serviceable. At the time, the gym was empty, so I thought I'll have a good time. Apparently not. Also, the minimum age for being allowed in this gym is 15 years old. So I'm here working with my weights when I see two kids around the ages 7 to 9 walking in. Now, the first thing you see when entering the gym is the rack where the weights are kept. I see the kids heading towards the rack and I immediately stop them, asking why they're here. They clearly wanted to go in there to pick up heavy weights or something to fool around. They then make the excuse that they want to drink water, and I make sure they do just that and leave. I don't say anything more after that. A while later, when I'm about to leave, they come back with their parents. The parents were so unreasonable, and apparently, they were told I'd bullied and scolded them harshly for playing outside the gym. I tried to explain the situation, but they don't listen. I didn't want to escalate it, so I just let it go. The next day, the guy responsible for the gym tells me that these people are kind of well off, and they're quite influential in the society board or something, and they've raised a complaint against me for harassment. Now, the guy's cool, he covered for me. But at the end of the day, everyone was told to turn a blind eye to whatever their kids do, which is stupid, I know. So that said, a few days pass. I continue working out at my normal time, so I didn't see them again. Good riddance, I thought. And then one day, I heard that apparently the kids entered the gym again, but this time with no one to stop them. One of the kids was fooling around, probably trying to show off how much he could lift, and the kid ends up breaking his foot, dropping a weight on it. In fact, when security finally found him, he was in a terrible state. This time, the parents had no one to blame but themselves and their negligence. I still feel a bit bad that I couldn't help the kid from getting hurt. So I recently read a story about a teen that pushed a Karen into a pool, and it made me remember something that happened when I was around 8 years old. At the gym that my family used to go to, there was a decent-sized pool area with a hot tub in the corner. Every few days, they would have a family swim, where, as the name implies, you can bring your kids and just play around in the pool. No lanes are allowed to be up during this time, and this is the only time that a lifeguard's actually present in the pool area. The rules are pretty standard for the early 2000s, and they included any child under 15 had to be accompanied by an adult in the pool area. But as you can guess, there was an issue of parents just dumping little Johnny and Susan off at the pool, so they could go to the gym section without having to worry about them for an hour or so. Family swim was always busy, and all the kids usually played together in the pool while the adults sat in the hot tub where they could watch their kids and hang around. So for the most part, no one really noticed or could tell when there was a kid without a guardian in the pool area. So that said, my older brother, myself, and about 6 other kids were in the pool. We were playing with the water diver toys that sink to the bottom of the pool, so you have to dive to grab them. We were having a blast. We threw them all in the deep end, and we were playing this game where we could see who could dive and collect the most before needing to come up for air. Well, it was Karen's kid's turn to collect, so we threw them all in, and he dived down to grab it. While he was down there, this old man slipped on the tiled floor that surrounded the pool, and he hit his head very hard on the ground. There was a loud smack, and seriously, it's not a sound that goes unnoticed, even in a loud pool area. Immediately, the lifeguard and the parents are yelling for the kids to get out of the pool right now. Karen's kid comes up for air, and not having seen or heard the old man fall, doesn't listen to the lifeguard or the other parents yelling to get out of the pool. My brother grabs me and he pushes me over the edge of the pool onto the tiles, and I can see that there's blood under the man's head, and it's seeping into the vent things that allows the water on the tiles to get back into the pool. My brother then pushes himself out of the water, and by this time, almost all the kids had been grabbed at the edge of the pool, or they'd gotten out using the stairs, all except for Karen's kid. The kid's parents aren't there, so the only one yelling at him to get out of the pool is the 17-year-old lifeguard. The kid ignores him and continues diving for the toys. So the lifeguard jumps into the pool and he wrestles the kid out of the water. All the while, the kid's screaming and kicking. My mom and dad rushed my brother and I off to the locker rooms to wash ourselves, so I didn't get to see what happened to the old man. When my mom and I were done in the locker room, we head to the reception desk to sign out, and we see a young couple with a sobbing kid in hand. The couple's yelling at the poor lifeguard about not helping their kid out of the pool faster. And if that wasn't bad enough, they were screaming that the lifeguard was at fault for the old man slipping somehow, that he was incompetent and how he's at fault if their kid got sick. Another staff member's there trying to figure out the situation, and the staff member turns to the lifeguard and they say, "Did you see these guests in the pool area with their son?" And the lifeguard replies, "No." So the staff member turns back to the parents and says something like, "You didn't follow our gym rules, and therefore, it was you that endangered your child, not my lifeguard. You're no longer welcome at this gym, so please gather your things right now and turn in your gym membership cards on the way out, or I will call the cops." We left before I heard the rest of that conversation, but we could hear the entitled dad yelling from the parking lot. My parents spent the whole ride home bashing these awful parents and saying stuff like, "How can people leave their kid in a pool with strangers like that?" Oh boy, gotta love it when parents are negligent to that point and then have the nerve to scream at someone else. Why didn't you get my son out of the water fast enough? You're useless and you should be fired. Like I would have lost it if I were the lifeguard, guys. And it goes back to the comment saying that cops should be called anytime a parent treats a place as a free babysitting service. So here's a quick background. I live close enough to my mother that we do this CrossFit class together every Saturday. It's fun and we bond. The class is an hour long, and at the beginning, we grab mats and weights. You also have to be early to this class because it's popular, and me and my mom grab spots in the back. The class fills up and all the regulars take their spots. There isn't much room, but there's space in the front. For the first half hour, everything's going well, and that's when this lady comes in. She walks to the center of the room and she stares at us and she goes and grabs a mat. That's when I head over to a station and begin my set. When I come back, however, I see this lady has pushed my mats into my weights and she's made herself a spot. My mom's livid, but I just wave her off. And don't get me wrong, I'm annoyed, but it does happen, and I continue the class. 5 minutes later, our instructor gives us the next set of workouts. I finish my workout on the mat and I see that there's a free TRX. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a rope that you attach to the wall and do different exercises with. As I'm pushing through the set, someone taps me on my shoulder. It's this lady again, and she says, "You finished 10, I counted, stop hogging." Now, first of all, I did not. And secondly, our instructor has us go through the sets twice in a round, so I was planning to go through twice. Thirdly, there was a free one right next to me. I just point out the free one and she rolls her eyes and she says something snarky how I wasn't being mindful of customers. She then demands that I show her how we're doing the workout. I kind of show her my form and then Mike the trainer comes by. She smugly looks at me and she says, "Good, at least someone's doing their job around here." I just shrug it off and try to finish my set in peace. I go back to my workout and I don't have anything with her until the end of class. At the end, our instructor hands out wipes for us to clean the mats before we return them. My mom was returning the weights while I was wiping our mats. As I'm wiping my mom's mat down, a mat's thrown at me and it lands right on top of me. I'm on my hands and knees. I look up and it's this woman again. The woman's kind of smugly looking down at me and she throws her wipe down and she begins to walk away. I get up with her mat and I hand it back to her and I say, "Excuse me, that's not where you leave these mats." The woman says, "What? You're cleaning the mats, so you need to clean mine." I replied, "Yeah, I'm just cleaning this one and mine." He then says, "Well, what makes her so special?" I reply, "She's my mom." The woman then goes on to say, "That doesn't matter. You clean one, you clean all." Now, I was kind of floored, and at this point, I tell her, "Leave me alone." The woman then begins screaming the instructor's name, and he comes up. My mom comes up right behind him. She's seen some of the stuff this woman was pulling, and she was over this lady's crap. The instructor, on the other hand, has no idea, but he can tell from my face that I'm annoyed. He asked, "What's going on?" Karen says, "This woman is refusing to wipe down my mat, and she spent the whole lesson ignoring me when I asked for help." He just tells her, "I can clean your mat." At this point, the Karen just huffs out and she marches down the stairs. I think that's the end of it until my mom and I go down to see her standing there, and the woman has to get the last snarky remark out. She says, "If I was your boss, I'd fire you." The front desk guy is a pretty innocent kid, probably in high school, and he says, "Well, good thing she doesn't work here, ma'am." At that point, her face is as red as it gets. She screams and then walks out, and my mom made us wait inside until she left the parking lot, probably for the best. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r slash entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r slash malicious compliance episode, where OP teaches their boss a lesson they won't forget. Guys, go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.